A very good evening to all of you. Welcome again. Welcome to this live session by Pathfinder Education Services. And we have these live sessions, as you're aware, on Fridays and Saturdays, every Friday, Saturday at 6:30 p.m. on topics that are related to CAT, MBA entrance, and so on. Today, the objective is to do a bit of verbal ability. We started off with maths. We had one round of maths, and next we did data interpretation and reasoning. And now we are on to English language. So today what we are going to do is we are going to have some questions on parajumbles, but not exactly the CAT pattern today. We'll start with parajumbles with options. Today and tomorrow we will do parajumbles with options. The next two classes we will do parajumbles without options. That is the next Friday and the next Saturday. And then we will move on to some other topics of English. So without any further delay, let us get started. And again, the method will be similar. I'll present to you a question of parajumbles, the conventional parajumbles today and tomorrow also. And once you have solved, I'll give you around 1.5 to 2 minutes for each and every question. And once you solve, we will discuss these questions. Please do not start till I ask you to start. I'm going to have a clock running here. So you have 2 minutes for the first question. Your time starts now. Please begin. So I would like you to see, I would like you to answer, please. Okay. All of you should post your answers in the chat box. Okay, Prachi says B. Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay, nobody else is ready to present his answer. Okay, so somebody has given an A. Prathamesh. Anushka says C. Okay, so now let us first of all once again have a quick recap. It will be a quick recap, not as detailed as we did in the class. As to how you approach these questions, you straight away go to the options. right? You scan a couple of sentences, go to options, you can see that either E, B, or C can be the opening sentence. So my first thing is, my first option is eliminate by the first sentence. Correct? Our threat response system is responsible for ensuring our survival. You will have no doubt heard of freeze, flight, fight response. And E says in day-to-day life, low level threats usually result in freeze or flight. So obviously, I can immediately eliminate E. Why? Because when I compare with B and E, B is talking of this particular response for the first time. तो मैं E को तो delete कर देता हूँ सीधे, eliminate कर देता हूँ. E cannot be the starting sentence. Now, I compare B and C quickly. You will have no doubt heard of the flight, freeze, fight response. Our threat response system is responsible for ensuring our survival. So here is the first mention of the freeze, flight, fight response or the threat response system. And so B has to be the opening sentence. I'll immediately see whenever there are options, you should start eliminating as soon as you can eliminate an option. So now you have only two close choices, B and C, which might be your answer. So you'll have no doubt heard of the freeze, fight, flight, fight response triggered by brainstem, one of the most primitive structures in our brain when we are in peril. Now, peril means danger. For those of you who are not aware, see, no matter what strategies you adopt, and there are a lot of strategies which we discussed in the class, but unless and until you understand meanings of basic words, you will not be able to get them right. So that's the first thing. Peril means danger. So our threat response system is responsible for ensuring our survival, and it is this system that helps us respond to imminent dangers in our environment. This is a key. These are key. This is the key. Because D is an example from your environment, right? D is an example from your own environment, correct? From environment. So it should definitely come after the mention of the term environment, right? So our threat response system is responsible for ensuring our survival. And it is this system that helps us respond to imminent dangers in our environment. And here you have been given an example. To give you an example, so CD is a very direct link. After B as the opening, I can find C and D as two statements which are linked. But I go to E. And in fact, it is not CD, it is CE. Because D is an example of day-to-day life. We mindlessly crossed a road only to freeze in the face of oncoming traffic. This is an example of something that we encounter almost on a daily basis. So I'm sorry. So here, B talks about something for the first time. C elaborates upon that idea. And then he tells you in day-to-day life, low-level threats usually result in freeze or flight. Low-level threats result in freeze or flight with other parts of brain, such as, now you don't bother about these two because people who have not studied the brain will not be aware of these terms. But these are given in brackets, right? That is additional information, helping us determine the level of risk we face. So here you're talking of day-to-day life. In C, you talked about environment. Environment and day-to-day life is exemplified in D. इसका example D में दिया हुआ है. और इसीलिए the correct sequence should be B, C, E, D, which is observed, which I can observe very clearly in B. Is the reason for BCED clear? Because then you don't have to check anything else. If the reason is clear to all of you, if you understood it, just give me a thumbs up. We will proceed to the next question. Anushka and Prathamesh, have you understood? Okay. Next question. Again, I'll give you 2 minutes and don't start yet. Your time starts now. Okay. So anybody who's got the answer? Okay, I guess people are not people are not writing answer. Everybody should post their answers, please. Please post your answer. Okay. So let us have a look at it. Once again, we do the same thing. We compare D and A. Feminist perspectives encompass more than equity issues, however. I can immediately eliminate this because it seems like a continuation of some earlier point. Okay? So therefore, I will eliminate A immediately. What is next? The next thing is D has to be the opening sentence. There are a variety of ways that feminists have reflected upon and engaged with science critically and constructively, each of which might be thought of as vistas of science. Vistas means, what is a vista? What is the meaning of the word vista? Anyone? Meaning of the word vista?
So view.
Okay, or an
In
angle.
view of science.
Right, an angle. Or a way of looking at something. Or simply perspective. Okay, so there is a direct link between D and B. So these perspectives, there are a variety of ways that feminists have reflected upon and engaged with science, and each of which might be thought of as a vista of science or perspective of science, then immediately links with B. These perspectives generate two types of issues. So definitely DB is a key link. And if you look at the options, there is only one option which has DB. But if you see here, limitations on freedom to participate and relative lack of attention to research questions. Now, what kind of issues are these? Right? These are equity. Equity means issues related to fairness of treatment. Correct? So limitation on freedom to participate is an issue of equity or fairness, and lack of attention to research question relevant to women's lives is another equity issue. Correct? Or fairness. So DB has to be followed by A. And then, if they encompass more than equity issues, what kind of issues? They extend to questions about methodology, epistemology, ontology, and so on, more radically. So there is a clear link between BA, then AE, and EC. This is a very, very clear link. Now, I hope the explanation is clear to you. If it is clear, give me a thumbs up, please. If the explanation is clear, give me a thumbs up. Okay. Next question. Yes, your time starts now. Okay, anybody who's got the answer? Okay, I guess I'll have to form a poll. So let me do that. Just give me one more. All right. So again, if I compare A and C, because they are the only opening sentences, I can immediately eliminate A. In that sense, these questions seem to be very easy, and we are able to eliminate the opening sentence at least. So moving your hand over an object surface enables you to feel its shape, temperature. This looks like a sentence which has just started off. Next. So it means definitely C is the opening sentence. Action is a means of acquiring perceptual information about the environment. So C can be followed by B, can be followed by A, can be followed by F, right? Which one it has to be? Because all of them provide you examples of this. So they are all examples of action, right? Moving your hand is also, but turning around, for example, you will use this word, for example, only when you are stating the example for the first time. So turning around, for example, alters your spatial relation to surrounding objects and hence which of their properties you visually perceive. So technically speaking, if you can understand this much, you can easily mark D and proceed. Are you able to follow what I've said? And therefore, D has to be the correct answer here. So turning around, for example, alters your spatial relations to surrounding objects. And then you can have another example, moving your hand over object surface. This is another example of action. And then he goes on to another general statement, active or passive movements of body can also generate useful sources of perceptual information. So the key here is to be able to differentiate and understand that this kind of construction can appear only in the first example. Later on, you may not put. Next.
So,
Yeah.
sir, in the D option, in the D sentence, it is given the pattern of optic flow in the retinal image produced by forward locomotion, for example, contains information about the direction in which you are heading. So I thought that the direction would be, connected to turning around.
See, this is more connected with B. Active or passive movements of body can also generate useful sources of perceptual information. F is a direct example of what is mentioned in C. Action is a means of acquiring perceptual information. Whereas pattern of optic flow in retinal image produced by forward location. So what is this? This is, this is not a direct action of your eyes. So action is the movement of body. But here it is mentioned active or passive movements of body can also generate useful sources of perceptual information. So the retinal image produced by forward locomotion, for example, contains information about direction.
Okay,
so it is talking about
yes, understood.
And therefore, B has to be followed by D. Next question. Your time starts now. Okay, so what's your answer? Only two people giving answers? Okay. See, again, out of A and D, one man convinced Jawaharlal Nehru in 1948 to push through a project of exploration. Again, looks like a sentence from somewhere in between. But A, with 1947 partition, all 40 odd known Harappan sites went to Pakistan, except to one minor one in Rupar and the other larger one in Saurashtra. So obviously, what will this lead to? If you look at these sentences, if all the sites went away to Pakistan, so people who would have been researching, the archaeologists, they would have felt almost bereaved, right? They would have felt bereaved. And they had been given a splendid ancient civilization, and within a quarter of a century, it was snatched away from them. I think the excavation work would have started somewhere around 1920s. So within a quarter of century, it was snatched away from them. So AC is a clear link, and A is the correct answer. See, even by finding out one clear link, you will be very easily able to identify what is the answer. And see what happened after that. What happened after that? There was only one thing to be done: probe whether the civilization may have extended to this side of the newly created border. If all the sites went away to Pakistan, the only thing they could do is to find whether some sites existed in India also. And then it directly connects with one man convinced, Nehru. So A is the best answer here. Next, I've taken these passages from The Quest for Saraswati by Michael Danino. Your time starts now. Okay, so what are your answers? D. Okay, so most of you are able to recognize the first sentence here. In fact, there is only one first sentence, that is B. Understandably, the quest for Saraswati has captivated researchers of all fields. So if it is captivated researchers of all fields, what do you expect? See, you have to connect with this sentence: captivated research of all fields. An opportunity to pull a mythical river out of the mists of time does not come your way too often. So obviously the sentence that will link is A, the amount of data that is accumulated. If researchers are captivated by something, obviously that thing, there will be a lot of generate data on that thing. So B has to be followed by A. And there are two options. Either the answer will be B or the answer will be D. What after A? What after A? I can only highlight some of the main findings, even if a lot of minor ones are equally interesting. Yes. What should be there? See, he stated this. I can only highlight some of the main findings, even if a lot of minor ones are equally interesting. Right? So the minor one example is the case of freshwater shells along the bed of Gaggar Hakra. As an example of latter, what is latter? Latter is minor ones. See, there are a lot of examples, or there are a lot of reasons, or a lot of findings. And freshwater shells, according to the author, is a minor finding. It's not as interesting as some of the others. Sorry, it's not as important as some of the others. So BA has to be followed by E, and there is only one option which is left, which is option number D. Have you understood how to approach these questions? This is not exactly CAT level. I would rate this as around 75 to 80% of CAT level. The question is difficult only because it's voluminous. It's big. You have to read a lot of stuff and understand very quickly. And that makes it difficult. But otherwise, I don't see the question very difficult, because once you understand the meaning here, you are able to narrow down to two options and even to one option in most of the cases. But still, to start off, this is a very good set of questions as far as starting your CAT preparation is concerned. So I guess that's where I'll end here. Thank you all for joining me on this live. And in case you have any questions or queries, please feel free to reach out to me. You can reach out to me on this number straight away, 98260 62415. You can inquire with us for courses related to CAT, courses related to IP MAT, and also courses related to HSW. When I say CAT, even other MBA entrances, you can inquire with us. That's all for now. Thank you very much. The next live will be tomorrow at 6:30 p.m.